Good evening and welcome to the 629th episode of Travel Itch. I'm Dan Schlossberg, and we are in the 15th season of Travel Itch Radio, the show that lets you enjoy the pleasures of travel from the comfort of your armchair. Every week at this time, we talk to people representing destinations, hotels, airlines, railroads, car rental companies, and others in the world of travel and hospitality, from authors and bloggers to broadcasters and publicists. If it's got anything to do with travel, it's got everything to do with Travel Itch. Our guest tonight is Coronado Magazine travel editor Chris Grant. Welcome, Chris, to Travel Itch Radio.
Thank you, Dan. It's nice to be with you.
And most people know Palm Springs as a desert hideaway for the rich and famous, but it's actually much more than that and steeped in legend more than many other resort destinations. You live in the area in an RV resort in the tiny town of Aguanga.
Awanga, yeah.
And you visit Palm Springs for shopping, dining, concerts, and special events. If visitors keep their eyes peeled, can they encounter celebrities who might be there?
Absolutely. Especially if they go the first 2 weeks of January, and that's when they have the Palm Springs International Film Festival. And that festival is kind of dubbed the first stop on the way to the Oscars. And I think like this year, in person, receiving awards at the festival were Timothy Chalamet, Kate Hudson, Michael B. Jordan, Adam Sandler, Amanda Seyfried, Ethan Hawke, Rose Byrne, and Miley Cyrus. So that's the sweet spot to go, is the first couple of weeks of the year. But there are celebrities that make Palm Springs their home year round. And I think that the time that it started goes way back to the 30s and the 40s and the 50s, which was the heyday of Hollywood. And that's when studios ruled everything. They had very strict rules. And one of them was that their stars had to be within 2 hours of the studios in case they were called in for reshoots or whatever. So Palm Springs was right on that perimeter. So for years, we've had residents such as Gloria Swanson, Clark Gable, Kirk Douglas, Gregory Peck, Frank Sinatra, Bob Hope. They've all had homes in Palm Springs. Lucy and Desi Arnaz lived out there for a while and would also stay in hotels. And their daughter, Lucy Arnaz, still lives in Palm Springs and supports many of the local charities. But one thing that the locals do is they give the celebrities their space. You know, they treat them just like folks.
That's the right thing to do. I know that because I'm a baseball writer too, and I give the ball players their space. Don't ask for their autographs or anything like that. Just say hello, be friendly. They're just like any other people, just happen to be celebrities.
People.
Do you know some of the celebrity secrets and legends?
Well, I think one of them might concern Elvis Presley and Priscilla Presley. One of the most famous homes is called the Elvis Presley Honeymoon House. It's still there. And it's where Elvis and Priscilla spent the first 4 years of their marriage. Now, Priscilla came back to Palm Springs. She's been back a few times, but she was there a year or two ago when the Plaza Theater that was originally built in 1934 and had been closed for a decade or two had its grand reopening, and she was one of the speakers there. And she confessed that there was a gossip columnist that many of your viewers might recognize the name, Rona Barrett, who either moved in or lived right next door to them and was always reporting on the comings and goings. And so they had no privacy. So they moved a little bit away to an area called Tuscany in Palm Springs. And it just had one long road entry. And they had a lot more privacy at their Tuscany home. And Priscilla said those were some of the happiest years of their lives, was that part of Palm Springs where they had some privacy.
Palm Springs has a bit of a reputation as a throwback to the 50s in attitude and architecture. Myth
Oh, yeah. I would say that that's because it is a haven for mid-century modern design. Mostly you'll see that in the architecture, but it's a whole movement. And there now is, I think it's, I don't know how many years, at least 30 years, they've had the Mid-Century Modern Week, which is actually 2 weeks in February. And just to let you know a little bit about what mid-century modern is and why it just is perfect for Palm Springs. The architecture had a lot of glass walls, like floor to ceiling glass, shade and breezeways. It was all about indoor outdoor living, mostly 1-story homes, lots of pools in the backyard. But it wasn't just the architecture, Dan. It was an optimistic view of life, because most of these mid-century modern homes were built post-World War II and as we were entering the space age. And so what you would have is a lot of atomic shapes and starbursts and boomerang and vibrant palettes, color palettes. Like you'd have oranges and turquoise and mustard yellow and avocado green and corals. And also, it was getting rid of all the clutter, none of this Victorian foo-foo stuff, a lot of white space, honest materials like concrete blocks used out front. And it was a time when people would entertain at home, and there'd be cocktail hours with bar carts and built-in wet bars, poolside gatherings. There'd be a lot of sleek cars parked out front with tail fins. And you'd have Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin on the hi-fi.
Wow. Is it a myth or a fact, Chris, that people who live in Palm Springs are all elderly retirees?
Well, there's no getting around the fact that, number one, Palm Springs does skew a little bit older because there's a lot of retirees and snowbirds. But mostly these are active adults, active seniors. They like to play golf. They like tennis. They like socializing. And they also, a lot of them are very well-to-do. And so they back a lot of charitable institutions and are active in civic organizations. And then, of course, with the hospitality industry, you have a lot of younger people working at hotels and restaurants and some of the shops. A recent development, and it kind of started during COVID, a lot of professionals, maybe in their 40s, have started they could choose they're working remotely. And they're not just in the entertainment industry, they're attorneys or high tech, and they're choosing to move out of Los Angeles or out of San Francisco and come to the desert because, from October to May, the average temperature is 78 degrees. What's not to like about that? So, yeah, so it's all ages.
We're talking the myths of Palm Springs with Chris Grant. Chris, is it true that a massive underground aquifer allowed the Cahuilla people not only to survive, but to thrive?
Yeah, Cahuilla, those were the people that the band in Palm Springs, it's the Agua Caliente Band of Cahuilla Indians. And there were 9 bands of these Indians throughout the Southern California area. And you ask when they were founded, they'll tell you time in memoriam. But what they found in Palm Springs, there's a reason there's all those palm trees, is there is a 39 million acre foot of water under the Coachella Valley. It's one of the reasons there are 120 golf courses in Palm Springs and the surrounding areas. 120 golf courses. Wow. It's all fed from this natural water.
We need to give our viewers some practical advice too, Chris. So is it a myth that Palm Springs is so hot in the summer you can fry an egg on the sidewalk?
I knew you were going to ask me that, and I looked it up. So to fry an egg on a concrete in the sun, so you need 158 degrees. Now, the average temperature in July is 106, but it's true that the pavement, the concrete's going to get hotter. But if you were to crack an egg on that concrete is not a good conductor. And so what happens is you might fry the bottom of the egg, but you're not going to cook that whole egg. So no, the answer is no.
Well, you have to flip the egg over, right?
You have to find another piece of concrete.
Okay. The summer is slow season in Palm Springs. Do the number of concerts and special events dwindle? And how do the locals survive in the summer?
So, yes, obviously, the year-round population base of Palm Springs is 44,000. In the season, which runs October through May, those numbers will swell to 120,000 or 150,000 people, depending on what event is going on. So yeah, things kind of slow down in the summer. But the good news in the summer is that if you're a resident or let's say you decide to be a tourist, you can get a reservation at a restaurant that you haven't been able to get into the rest of the year. Also, the prices go down. And if you're a tourist, a visitor, you can pay a third to one half of what the top season rate is. So there's a lot of that. But how do they do it? How do you survive in 106-degree weather in July? Let's say you go July or August. So here's the way to spend your day. Between the hours of 6 a.m. and 10 a.m., it's beautiful out. So that's when you enjoy your outdoor activities. Go walking, go on some hikes, get out on the golf course, play tennis, go swimming in the pool. Then from 10 to 4, when it's the heat of the day, head inside. That's when you want to watch everything you can on Netflix and read the latest bestseller. But there are places you can head out to. You can go to a health club, a spa, a museum, and Palm Springs has plenty of museums, movie theaters, lots of movie theaters, casinos. So there's things to do in the afternoon that'll keep you cool. Then it's the evening. So choose a restaurant in town where you can sit on the patio and people watch while you're enjoying your cocktails or your dinner. And then in the summer months, head over to Palm Canyon Drive, the main road in Palm Springs. Every Thursday night from 7 to 10 is Village Fest. Huge farmers market, hundreds of vendors, and it's free unless you're going to buy something there. So there's actually lots to do in the summer, but it's just not the great big events.
And there are lots of free things to do, concerts, lectures, hikes. True or false?
There's lots of free things all year long. So one of the things I'm just going to tell you a few free things. You can walk along Palm Canyon Drive and see the Hollywood Walk of all the stars. There's over 400 stars, names of people who have spent time in Palm Springs. Another thing that's one of my favorite places, it's not actually in Palm Springs. It's right next door in Rancho Mirage. It's called Sunnylands. And it was the former estate of ambassadors Lenore and what was her husband's name? The Annenbergs, Lenore and Walter Annenberg. So today it's a gathering spot for world leaders. I mean, there've been many presidents who've been there and from other countries, but the gardens around Sunnyland and the parking always are free to the public. And then I was doing a story once on Sunnylands, and I stumbled upon something. I was there on a Friday at 10 o'clock, and that's yoga in the gardens. It's free yoga, and there must have been over 400 people practicing yoga in this huge garden area. It was fantastic. Another couple of things you can do. You can drive out on Highway 10, the main artery coming from LA. And as you come into the San Gorgonio Pass, it's one of the biggest collection of the wind turbines, the giant windmills. Some of them today, they're 300 feet high, and then you take the windmill blade and you're going up 500 feet, which is like a 15-story building. And it's one of the windiest corridors. Palm Springs isn't windy, but when you come in there, you can. You could also, as you enter town, there's the Palm Springs Visitor Center. It used to be a gas station, and it's was designed by Albert Fry. It's now the Visitor Center. It's right at the bottom of the tram area. And it's a very distinct kind of a wedge cantilever shape, very space age. And then one more thing, over again in Rancho Mirage, the library has an observatory with the telescopes there, and you can go see the planets and the stars for free on Thursday and Saturday nights, which is kind of fun. Yeah.
That sounds great. Well, I've been on the Palm Springs tram, so tell me about it and its multiple climate changes that visitors experience.
Yeah, it's fun. It's the largest rotating tram in the nation, and it takes you in a matter of 10 minutes. It takes you from the valley floor up to about 8,500 feet. So you're going up 6,000 feet. So if it's 90 degrees in Palm Springs, it could be, 90 minus 40, it could be 60, 65 degrees up at the top. So everybody is always reminded to take a sweater or even a jacket with them when they're going up there. At the top, there's probably 6 miles of hiking. There's movie theaters, documentary movies about building the tram. I think it was built in the 60s. And there's a cafe, a gift shop, and there's a beautiful restaurant. It's called Peaks Restaurant, where you can get, prime rib, rack of lamb, salmon, whatever, really nice, and have a view of the valley while you're eating up there. So a nice time to go might be go up at 4:30, walk around a little bit, have dinner at the restaurant, and come down at sunset when the lights are starting to twinkle in the city below. It's really most worthwhile.
Is it true that many Palm Springs restaurants close in the summer, or is that a myth?
It's pretty much a myth. Very, very few close. Some of them might alter their hours a little bit. But what's really nice is a lot of them have specials in the summer. And what's nice is to go and sit in a restaurant in the evening or the morning. A lot of them have misters, which help keep it cool. And a lot of them are locally owned. So you can sit on the patio and people watch. But there's restaurants, fabulous restaurants. Spencer's Restaurant is one that comes to mind, that quite famous. You might see a movie star there.
And here's one important piece of information that I need clarified. Is it a fact or is it fiction that happy hour begins at 11 o'clock in the morning and lasts all day?
I think I'm afraid it's fiction. But most happy hours run from 3 to 6, and some of them will change. But to find a happy hour, if you're walking down Palm Canyon Drive, most of the restaurants have sandwich boards out in front that advertise when their happy hours are, what their specials are. So you can just kind of be walking along the street and find a good happy hour.
And fact or myth, Chris? The Palm Springs Art Museum has free admission on Thursday nights and also on the second Sunday of each month.
That's partially right. It's free admission on Thursdays from 5 to 8, and on the third Sunday of the month from noon till 4 o'clock, when they often have some kids activities, it's free to everyone. You don't have to be a kid. And there's different galleries there. They have some really good Southwestern art, some LGBTQ art. And then the museum itself is quite striking in its design. It was designed by architect Spencer Williams, I believe. Also, on your way to the museum, is the Forever Maryland, which is I think it's 26 feet high. It's the pose that everybody knows of Marilyn Monroe, where she's her dress blows up. It's in the movie The 7-Year Itch, where she's above the subway. You know, the not subway, but something's blowing her dress up. But I mean, that's not part of the art museum, but on the way to the art museum, you'll probably see it. It's not far from the parking lot.
And since you're travel editor of Coronado Magazine, isn't there also a Marilyn Monroe statue there with the same skirt going up?
No, but they did. I mean, she did film the movie. Well, it was the Billy Wilder movie. It was filmed in 58, came out in 59, Some Like It Hot. And the Coronado Island Film Festival always includes that as their closing movie at their film festival every November.
That's very appropriate. Myth or fact, shopping in Palm Springs is limited to expensive designer brands. Are there affordable stores in Palm Springs or only designer shops?
No, there's all types of stores. You know, there's an H&M, for example, but then there's also lots of locally owned boutiques. One that's goes way back is Kimball's, and it has women's clothing and jewelry and resort wear. There's also one called Crystal Fantasy that sells all sorts of crystals and has meditation classes. There's also art galleries that the art galleries have different price points. I mean, you can spend money. There's an area called the Uptown Design District that really has a lot of the mid-century modern design. Trina Turk for clothing. But I mean, it's wonderful clothes. And then right next door, there's a place called Shag. It's an art gallery where it's just so mid-century modern. I can't really explain it. But also, here's where the bargains are. And it's also a form of tourism. Palm Springs has some wonderful thrift stores, and they have some wonderful consignment furniture stores. For thrifting, even at my RV park, you know, which is less than an hour out of Palm Springs, last year there was a group of gals. They went over for the day and did nothing but hit all the thrift stores. And as you can imagine, with a lot of wealthy people there donating to thrift stores that support, you know, homeless and all types, and the Eisenhower Medical Center and all sorts of things, Cancer Society. It's fabulous bargains there. And then the consignment stores are another interesting thing. And it's all along Highway 101, which kind of connects Palm Springs and Cathedral City and Rancho Mirage and Palm Desert. So all these consignment stores, part of the entertainment value of owning a home in Palm Springs for some of the folks that are on the wealthier side is the furnishings are a form of entertainment. So what they do, the owners like to do, is redo the furnishings every 4 or 5 years, get a new look. So their old furniture, which is actually in great shape, are sold through these consignment stores. What happens is people in Southern California come out there and buy a lot of their stuff and maybe bring a truck with them, or you know, they'll set it aside and then go back. And you can get some fantastic furniture, mid-century modern furniture at pennies on the dollar.
And speaking of money, isn't it true Palm Springs has casinos, though maybe not as many or as gaudy as the ones in Las Vegas?
Well, the Agua Caliente band of Cahuilla Indians own 3 casinos in the Coachella Valley. The largest one is right in Palm Springs, and it's a lovely casino. It has 3 restaurants in it. It has a place called, it's a lounge. Let's just, I'll find, I got my notes on it. The Cascade Lounge. So the Cascade Lounge is a place where you're going to hear some really good jazz and music entertainment. And then the other 2 casinos are in Cathedral City, which is the next city connected to Palm Springs, and there's another one in Rancho Mirage. They're open 24 hours a day.
And Chris, where can people stay in Palm Springs? Are there hotels of every size and description, or even vacation homes people can rent?
Uh, I recommend that anyone going to Palm Springs stay in one of the boutique hotels. And I've got the perfect website for them to go to. It's Palm Springs Preferred Small Hotels.com. Palm Springs Preferred Small Hotels.com. There are 80 hotels now that are less than 50 rooms, and they're all types. I mean, there's mid-century modern, there's some historic properties, tiki, rustic, LGBTQ, some that are clothing optional, French, Japanese, Moroccan themes. And so you go to that site and you can call up each of these hotels' websites and find one that just fits your vibe. So that's number one, the small hotels. If you want to stay in a large resort kind of thing, there is a Hilton in Palm Springs. There's the Renaissance in Palm Springs, and there's a brand new one. I toured this last year. It hadn't even opened yet. It's called the Thompson. It's right on Palm Canyon Drive. Beautiful property, and it's got a couple of really in-demand restaurants. And the one that I want to go to is Bar Cecil at the Thompson Hotel. So I don't know too much. I think you could do VRBOs. I've never gone that route, but I recommend the preferred small hotels.
Yeah, Vrbo is good. I've used them a number of times.
Good.
They are good. We got to mention golf, Chris. I know it's a big deal for many people. You said there are how many courses? A lot, right?
There's 120 courses in the Coachella Valley. The newest one, which is actually not that new, it was the last one built in Palm Springs, was Encina, Escena, Escena. It opened in 2005. I think it was a Nicholas designed course. And then there's Indian Canyon North and Indian Canyon South. Those are both owned by Agua Caliente Band of Kuya Indians. But it's a patchwork of golf from one end of the valley to the other. Plus tennis, a lot of tennis out there. Got big tennis tournaments in March.
Is there direct airline service from Palm Springs to major cities, or do people have to fly into LA and rent a car?
No, go through Palm Springs International Airport. It's got connections to 32 cities in the direct connections in the United States and Canada. It's served by all the major airlines, Delta, Alaska, American, United, among them. And it's right in the middle of town. It has strict controls on flights leaving at night so that it preserves the city's calm. Beautiful airport.
Are there other myths of Palm Springs that you would like to share with our viewers?
There's a couple that I think are interesting. It's not so much myths, but I'll tell you a couple of things that I find interesting. You know, if you live along the West Coast, the it view would be the ocean. The it view in Palm Springs are the San Jacinto Mountains. So the closer you are to the mountains, the more valuable your property, such as the Las Palmas area, the movie colony area. The mountains, the view of the mountains change from sunrise to sunset. Sometimes they'll have snow on the top, so you'll have kind of an Alpen view of them. And they represent quiet and separation from urban density. So I think that the San Jacinto Mountains are very important to know about. And then another thing I'll tell you about, and it's kind of about the myth. It's a legend more than a myth because this really happened. And that was a plane crash in 1965, and it basically froze Palm Springs in time. So during the 1950s and 60s, there was a company called the Alexander Construction Company, and it was led by George Alexander and his son Robert, and they transformed Palm Springs. They're the ones who built tract homes of these mid-century moderns. They sold for about $12,000. They were maybe 1,200 square feet. And those homes today are worth millions. But what happened is they took off, and it was kind of bad weather. And then they hit a storm right over the Indio Chocolate Mountains. The plane crashed. It killed everybody on board. And so the Alexander era ended overnight, and it kind of froze the mid-century modern homes. And it took several years before the town realized what a treasure trove they had, and they started the festivals and celebrated what they had developed. Yeah.
Chris,
And one final thing I want to tell you.
Okay.
My final note is my mantra, and it's what I always tell my friends. I live close to Palm Springs, and I tell them I've never had a bad time in Palm Springs. Doesn't matter if I go in the summer or winter, I've never had a bad time in Palm Springs.
That's great to hear. Am I right that you spend summers on the East Coast and winters on the West Coast?
Yes. So I still have my home in Coronado. I've got it rented out right now. So I'm living in an RV park, which I really love. It's a 55 plus, not far from Palm Springs. And then I just recently bought a house in Corning, New York, a Victorian home, which is completely different from mid-century modern. But it's so that I would have a base for travel writing back there and a base for travel writing out here. And like you, I'm traveling all over.
Is there anything I haven't asked you that you would like to add?
No, just come out and visit. Tell everybody to come out and visit.
That sounds great. I've been to Palm Springs a couple of times. I really enjoyed it. I recommend it. Beautiful place. Very beautiful place. And our guest this evening on Travel Itch has been travel writer Chris Grant. Where can our viewers find your work?
Well, Coronado Magazine, I do one story every month, pretty in-depth. I write long. I can't learn to write short.
Me too.
They carry them on ISSUU. So you go to ISSUU.com and then Coronado Magazine, they're all there. And I also have a listing on Muck Rack that has some of the articles I do for some other publications as well.
And listeners, now that baseball is back, share the excitement with a copy of my biggest and best book, The New Baseball Bible. 480 pages for a little more than a sawbuck. Such a deal. It's an oversized, illustrated, unorthodox history of America's national pastime that is both a coffee table book and a bathroom book. Read it backwards and still enjoy it. That's The New Baseball Bible with Shohei Ohtani on the cover. Get it from Amazon.com tonight. And that's it for this edition of Travel Itch. We're back next week to talk baseball with the Myrtle Beach Pelicans and what they've done to upgrade the game and their ballpark. Now, this is Dan Schlossberg saying thank you for your time this time. Until next time, good night.